It's June 7th, 2020. It's been pretty warm and sunny here in Seattle, just like today. Let's start the update with the harvest I did on June 4th. You can see the strawberries are damaged by slugs, like this one. You can see that little spot over there. That's eaten by slugs. And most of the strawberries are pretty deformed too. I'm starting to think it's caused by aphids. This one is still pretty bad. Other than strawberries, I also harvested some mulberries. They're pretty sad too. You can see they're very small, but still edible. So back to June 7th, let's start the update over here. Pine tree looks fine, and the succulents also looks great, with a lot of new leaves forming. Over here we have the elephant food plant. Looks like there's a lot of new leaves as well. Frizzle Sizzle is also doing great. You can see the plants are getting very big and tall. The raspberry is doing really well. Let's take a look at different bunches of fruits. You can see the fruits in this one is very nicely pollinated. The fruit is very full. This one is 2, and you can see some smaller fruits. Those are earlier in maturation. These are even earlier, so they've just recently started forming. Here's some individual ones that have started to turn pink. So these could be harvested soon, probably next week or so, maybe longer. Here's another one, looking great. Here's another bunch. Here's another bunch. Let's take a look at this bunch. You can see this middle one has bigger fruits, but there's only a few. It's probably from the earlier flowers that weren't pollinated by bees. The lavender, you can see the flowers are looking great. Smells good too. If you look closely, I think the flowers have opened. The rosemary is doing great. This one, for example, is sending up a lot of new growth. Here's the hydrangea. You can see the new growth is getting a lot taller. And the flowers are still around. At the center of the pot, I actually observed another new growth forming. The artichoke flower is getting taller now. The flower, I think it's getting a little bigger too. And the mints are also doing well. See, it's adapting well to the new environment. Probably gonna cut this one to propagate it. Up here we have the Lacy phacelia, still flowering, attracting a lot of bees. Summer snowflake is looking very messy. Gotta clean it up. The hyacinth is still dying back. Down here's the bulb plants that have pretty much died back. Gonna put these away today. Not this one though, the grape hyacinth is still around. The mulberry is looking great. If you look closely, you'll see that the fruit has started to turn red, like these ones over here. These ones look a little bigger than the ones I harvested on the 4th. I'm going to show you the fruit I harvested today. They look a little bigger than the harvest I did on the 4th. So the fruits are getting bigger now, which is a good sign. Now let's look at the blueberries. Fruits are still getting bigger slowly. Let's take a look at some other bunches. Yeah, they look great. Can't wait for the blueberries. And that's the daffodil. You can see it's dying back slowly. And the grape hyacinth. If you look closely, you can see some seeds, the black things. in the seed pods. And here we have the strawberry. You can see the strawberry is still flowering, not as frequent though. And you can see a lot of strawberries all over the bushes. Oh, there's a tiny ladybug larvae. And let's look at the harvest I did today for the strawberry. You can see the size is pretty decent for this one. This one is my favorite, the most well-formed and no damage on the strawberry. Here's another one. You can see it's a little deformed at the bottom. Hopefully the next harvest will get even more and prettier strawberries. I also harvested the bad ones. You can see most of them are damaged by slugs, and a lot of them are also very deformed, and some of them are molded. So I have to remove these from the strawberry pots. I also found this dead black vine weevil, probably killed by a spider, I think. Also, while I was harvesting the strawberry, I found a live black vine weevil on a strawberry. Speaking of black vine weevil, you can see these blueberry leaves are heavily damaged by them. The rhubarb leaves are also heavily damaged. You can see like this one, there's a bunch of holes. So I'm gonna have to start looking for them and actively remove them. Here's the calla lily. You can see the sprouts are all getting super tall. And zooming in, you can see another ladybug larvae. Peony looks pretty much the same. Here we have the dahlia. You can see it's definitely getting bigger now. Not seeing any flowers yet. And then we have the hydrangea. You can see there's gonna be a lot of flowers. Seems like the flowers over here are sort of purple. And here's a lot more flowers forming. Also, the smallest hydrangea is flowering a lot. The ginger, I don't see any sprout yet. A little worried. And I also started the wildflower pot. You can see the seedlings. This one is filmed about 4 days ago. You can already see some germinations of the seeds. I think these are all Lacy phacelia seedlings. And back to the same day. This is what the seedlings look like. Not seeing any crimson clover sprout yet. Over here is the, I think it's called the stone crop. The flowers are really nice yellow. Asparagus looks pretty much the same. The flowers are still around. And here's more stone crop flower. The grape is looking pretty much the same. I think it's still sending out new growth. Some damage by the black vine weevil. Let's check out the grape looking things from last week. Right here you can see, seems like there's only one left. Pretty much all of them have dried up. And this other one, there's only 2 green grape things. So don't think we're gonna get a lot of grape this year. Here's the rhubarb, still sending out new leaves. The pineapple is doing well. I don't think the leaf is dying anymore. And the new leaf at the center is still getting bigger. Lastly, the snowdrop and the saffron have died back completely. As for the indoor, you can see this little guy is still getting bigger. No, I'm gonna leave it there for now. And this succulent, there's some weird spots forming. It might be mold. I'm not too sure. I need to look into it. A little concerning though. the orchids are all sending out leaves, like this one. The lady's slipper orchid is also growing nicely. Here's some more orchids, mini oncidium. Another mini oncidium. The string of pearl, if you look closely, you could see some flakes on top of the leaves. I think those might be aphids. So I'm gonna put this plant outdoor for the ladybug larvae. Hopefully that's gonna help with the aphid. Here's more orchid, the small prayer plants, and this other orchid. It's hard to see from here, so I'm gonna show you another angle. That's better. At the bottom you can see that new leaf is growing now. The Phalaenopsis hasn't been doing much. Another snake plant. The ficus bonsai looks great. Here's the succulent. You can see the leaves are changing colors. Bird nest fern and the dragon tree plant. Philodendron, the pear plant, and the hoya. You can see this new growth is getting super long. Let's look at the whole thing from the base all the way to the tip. And we have the staghorn fern. You can see the show frond is turning brownish. And this other show frond is still getting bigger with a little antler frond forming in the center. And lastly, the spider plants.